Hey, what up, guys? It's me again, and welcome to the This Is My Moment podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Mitchell, and here at This Is My Moment, we love to have a good time. We love meeting new people, and we love to see you smile. Oh, yeah, it's season 2, baby. Let's go get it.
There ain't no stopping it, this is my moment. Join the movement, we bringing people together, bringing positivity, making changes for the better, cause it's all about...
Today, I got a guy on the line with me that after talking to him offline, man, we realized we got a lot in common. Both of us vets.
Yes, we do.
Both of us got a little writing experience. We're gonna have some fun. Introduce yourself to the family.
Hi, good morning. My name is Michael Max Darrow. I'm in Southern California today.
First off, Michael, man, thank you for coming out. Thank you for being part of the family today, man. And let's see if we can have a little fun.
Thank you.
What the people didn't see was for about 10 minutes, we got to talking about like military and being stationed here and being stationed there, man. So I want to tell you first off, man, thanks for your service and thanks for your first responder service, man, and all that stuff, man. Those people, we get a lot of flack. Military gets a lot of flack. First responders gets a lot of flack, man. But I'm gonna tell you what, without it, we wouldn't be who we are. True story. So appreciate you for both of those services, man, and best of luck and everything else. So let's get to the going now. So I asked you before we started that you got to writing at a real early age, man, and it's funny because a lot of people, they not doing it that early. Like you're outside kicking around the ball and stuff like that. How early did you get started?
Real early, like second grade, started writing little short stories.
What was your first short story?
It was called Aragorn and the Tales of the White Lion. And it was a kind of a fantasy type of thing, and stole the name Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, and then the White Lion from Kimba the White Lion, which was a cartoon show, a Japanese anime cartoon show back in the 60s. It was black and white, and I loved it.
What kind of second and third grader man is writing books?
I don't know. I just loved. I've always had all these stories in my head.
Yeah.
And just never had time to actually sit down and write more than like a short story here and there.
Yeah.
I used to write short stories as gifts. Actually, I gave a short story to my dad as a gift one time for Christmas. It was maybe 80 pages, a Western, because he read Westerns. So I wrote him a Western.
That's pretty neat. I can dig that. I can dig that. So I was researching you and reading your bios and all the information, and it said that life started happening and you had to step back from the writing for a little bit. Is that true?
Yep.
Talk to me, man. What happened?
Well, I mean, when you get in high school and junior high school, life starts happening. You got to start learning things and about the world, and then you start learning about girls, and then there's cars, and then there's wait a minute, I'm 15, I got to get a job, pay for gas. Back when you could buy gas with the change in your pocket. I don't know how kids do it now, but so I had these stories, and I've always had more stories as the years went on in my head, and I could literally write a whole book in my head and then shuffle it in the back of my head and then start something new. Just never had time to sit down and actually write out these long stories.
Creativity is not a natural given talent. Some people are creators, some people are editors. And man, just for the sake of knowing that early and being able to think like that and write it down and then be able to push it back and move forward, that's a talent, brother.
But then comes the English part. That's not the fun part.
Hey, I got that too. What the ideas? Where are the ideas coming from? Like for me, right? I'm working on my first book, and I'm using my interaction with people as my motivation for the book, right? What is your motivation? Where are your ideas coming from?
They just they just come to me. Like I'm on a lot of writers forums, and people talk about, oh, I can't get into the writing swing, or oh, I got writer's block. Oh, that's never happened to me. I don't think it ever will, because the stuff just flies into my head. I mean, I've always had a very vivid imagination. When I was a kid, when in 1967, I was 7 years old, and that's when Star Trek hit the airwaves on my little black and white TV, and I was like, wow. And I grew up with things like The Outer Limits and The Twilight Zone, and they were very thought-provoking things, fantasy, sci-fi type of things. And that's just, and then of course in 1977, I was a junior in high school, and this crazy movie came out called Star Wars. So then it was like, boom. Yeah.
That is my show, brother. I'm a Star Wars guy, man. And I was born in 77. And
Right on.
I tell you what, man, like, they don't make shows like that to me anymore. And I tell you what, my mom, she used to watch Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock, what I mean? We used to watch like all these shows that were essentially able to get your juices going, right? And I was just like, man, and I like those shows, and I like that, and that's how I kind of gravitate towards everything that I do in life, with that open imagination and just think about that. And then the Star Wars, and I was a Star Trek guy too, man. I like Picard, you know what I mean? So I like all that stuff, man. So that's it. And I was reading that about the time the pandemic hit, you retired. That's when you really, really started picking it back up. Is that true?
Yeah. What happened was, with the pandemic started, and I have an autoimmune disease. So I thought for sure, this is going to get me. I'm going to be dead. So I retired, and I was basically locked myself in the house for like a year and a half. Yeah. I mean, my wife and daughter went to the grocery store with rubber gloves and masks on, and brought the groceries home. And so what was I going to do? So I said, well, guess what? I got time now. Now I got time. So I've actually pulled a short story out of I have this briefcase full of short stories and poems that I've written over the years. And no, serious. You can't. This is Sirius Black. No, you can't be
That's a character for something. Harry Potter? Yeah.
So I pulled this short story that I had written in 1982, and I said, wow, I'm going to make this into a full-length novel.
Yeah.
And so, I started writing, and I've learned to make that my routine for an hour and a half every morning. Get a cup of coffee and sit down and write. And you might only write 2 or 3 pages, but after a week, then a month, and 3 months, then you have a lot of pages. So when I was done with this book, the first book, Federated Trilogy, 395 pages, bam. But, that was fun. And then started with the editing. That's not fun. We won't talk about that.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We definitely go. That's actually the segue. But I wanna pick your brain just a little bit as a guy that's looking into writing. You know what I mean? What would you give me? Like, talking to me, right? What would you tell me to get me to start thinking about when it comes to writing and your publishing and all those things, man? Just give me a couple pointers, man, because I'm trying to find something.
Here's what I do. Now, I didn't do this before when I wasn't serious about it. I just shuffled the things in my brain and put them in the file cabinet. Go to the grocery store or office supply store and buy some of those little 100-page composition books, and start writing your ideas down in those. You got an idea for a story, write that on the front, whatever you want to make your working title, and then just start making notes. And when you've got enough notes and on this idea that you want to write about, then you're going to sit down on a piece of paper. Cats are chasing each other. Then you got to sit down on a piece of paper and you want to map it out. This is where I want to go with it. I want to introduce my characters. I want to have this build up to this big scene, and then go past it. The beginning, the middle, and the end. Like in a game of chess, writing's like the same way. You got to have a beginning, a middle, and the end.
Of course.
So I would start writing these things down, and then I would sit down and do the actual writing. But you also have to make it a routine, or you won't stick with it. Have a
Mm,
time to write. For me, I mean, some people like to write late at night. For me, it's first thing in the morning, with
yeah,
that cup of Joe, and make it your routine.
yeah.
I mean, I can't believe that I was like 60 years old, like 58 or 59 when I started writing my first novel.
Yeah,
I'm 62 now, and
yeah.
and I want to show you. I got 5 that I've written right here, and I've
That's
got another one coming out, a vampire werewolf novel, and I'm getting ready to start another one. So the process just keeps going. I hope to someday have 15, 20 books written,
man.
because I
Yes.
still got ideas.
I say you not even scratching the surface yet. I love that, man.
Then I wonder what took me so long.
I tell you what, man, and maybe this is just how it is for me, but after a long day of work, you know what I mean, and coming home and spending time at cooking or cleaning or just doing just house stuff, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I don't have that imagination that it takes for me to sit down and write. So a lot of times I can see like a day will pass or 2 days, you know what I mean? Because I didn't have a routine. I get up in the morning, shower, shave, go to work. Come home, take care of the kids, cook. 'Cause I'm the cook in the house. Cook everything, everything gets done, and then you look up, man. It's 9:30. It's time for bed. So I think that's a huge tip about that, making a routine, finding that space, carving it out, just like you would the gym, just like you would anything else, and making it. That's good, man. I just wrote that down. I need that. Yeah, so appreciate you. Why is writing why is writing the easy part and editing not so much? Talk to me, man.
Because these ideas, these characters, these words, I mean, they just seem to flow out of me. And then I've read a lot of things on writing. I read a book that Stephen King wrote on writing, and even though it's a lot of his ramblings and how he writes, one of the main things I took from, which helped my characters become more three-dimensional, is he said, use people
Mm,
make your characters people And I was
yeah,
like, well, that just makes too much sense. I mean, I know this guy is really quirky. He's got these, weird habits. Make him a character.
yeah,
This commander you really looked up to in the military, you make him one of your commanders in your, military sci-fi novel or whatever.
yeah.
And it can even be family members. I've used people I went to high school on. My latest novel, which is a murder mystery on an Indian reservation.
Mm,
The 2 FBI agents were 2 of my buddies from high school, and I told them on Facebook, I go, I made you guys characters in my novel. They're like, no way. So that just, it's just fun. So you just, but once you write it, now I wasn't, I'm not an English major.
yeah.
I don't have a degree in English. I mean, I was a soldier and a cop, so I can count bullets. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not good at that. So then you start rewriting it and
yeah,
looking at all your misspelled words and how bad you used English. And I have friends and family, luckily, that beta read my stories,
yeah,
and they make suggestions. Hey, this doesn't flow. Hey, this is a
yeah,
run-on sentence. Where were you going with this? And then after all that's done, it goes to my editor, Alex Easley, son of a friend of mine who happens to have a degree in English.
that
And
is.
then she proceeds to rip me up. I mean, rip me up. I got commas in the wrong places. This should be a dash. This should be
That's
a
me.
colon. This should be a semicolon. I'm like, I thought I was a good writer. And she says, you are a good writer. I can't come up with all this crazy stuff and keep it in line without plot holes like you do, but you just suck at English. So
That's solid, man. You know what's funny? I don't know if this is for you, but for me, man, I have to thicken my skin up because when I have, and I'm in the beta editing right now too. I've sent it out to 5 people, and I tried to make mine culturally diverse, right? So I picked different peoples from different backgrounds and different walks of life. That way we can all sit down with the edits, right? But I realized that they gonna cut it up. You like I'm asking you to show me the bad side of what I just did to make it great. But I have to accept that criticism though.
You do, and not only that, you have to not only stay up with the times and what's going on, and then you know, I mean, it's difficult. It's a difficult process. I grew up in Santa Ana, which was a very culturally diverse neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, so I have no problem incorporating any of that kind of stuff in my books. I grew up with people of all races and religions. Not a big deal to me. It's a big city. But nowadays you have, you know, the LGBTQ aspect. How am I going to work that in without offending somebody? So, you know, you have to have beta readers to help you out with that.
Yeah.
And figure out how you're going to do that, because you don't want to look like you're stuck in one place and one genre, one niche. You know, one of the things people said was find your genre and stay in it. I'm like, I can't stay in my genre. Find the genre and stay in it. I do sci-fi, fantasy, murder mysteries, vampire. I mean, I got all these stories in my head. I'm not going to stay. I mean, I can't stay in my lane.
Yeah.
So you all over the highway with it.
I'm all over the place, man.
That's good though. But let me ask you this. So when you're thinking of your ideas, right? Are you looking at like your time in the service? You looking at the shows that you grew up watching? You listening to your kids and your wife talk, or your like? How are you coming up with these things, man?
I don't know, man. They just come to me. I mean, and then some of it is like I grew up with I had in my like the book I just published, it's doing pretty well. It's called Indian Country Incident at Big Pine. And it's about a cop from Santa Ana who's stuck in his career, and he moves out to South Dakota to be a rural county deputy. And he thinks it's going to be, you know, less, it's going to be more drag, more relaxed. And he gets promptly involved in a murder investigation. And he just so happens to speak Lakota. And because he grew up with a neighbor who introduced him to Lakota Sweat Lodge. And as a white guy, he's kind of an oddball because he's practicing a Native American spirituality, even though he's white. And so the book started out as, this is the career I wish I had. That's how that book started out, because I do practice Native American spirituality and was introduced to it as a young age, and long before the movie Dances with Wolves. And so I incorporated all these things that I know. I know a lot of the Lakota language. I know a lot of Lakota songs. I know about Sweat Lodge and how to build a sweat lodge. And then I know law enforcement. So I incorporated those things all into the story, police procedure. And then, of course, I loved murder mysteries growing up, watching murder mysteries. I mean, Agatha Christie, Detective Poirot, all this good stuff. The Great British, I love all the British murder mystery shows. You know, Father Brown, I love it. Can't wait for the new season to come out. So, you know, like a good murder mystery, halfway through the book, somebody else gets murdered, you know? So I just, you've got to put things that you know in there. Your hopes, your dreams, your thoughts. And in that case of that book, the career I wish I had. So, you know, when I created this science fiction world for my first novel, and then I did a sequel to it, I did basically in Star Trek, it's the Federation of Planets. I created my own federation. And in this federation, as the universe expanded, as we left the Earth and started colonizing and stuff, well, what happens? Crimes happen regardless. So you're going to need law enforcement on these other planets and in between. And that's where I came up with the concept of a Federation Marshal Service. So basically, the Federation trilogy is cops in space.
What you know.
What you know.
That's solid, man. A lot of people don't get this side of me. Like I'm really into like the sci-fi. Like I love it, and I think inside of the sci-fi, man, I'm like a knight. I think in my previous life, man, I had to be like a knight. I had to, man, because I'm drawn towards like that sci-fi, that Camelot, like those things. Like that's my stuff, man. So, oh man. So when I write, my imagination goes to how I can incorporate like all of these things. And man, I like hearing that I'm not the only person that uses his day-to-day interaction, his love and his passion to help write and be successful at writing, man. So good for you, brother. So talking about the pandemic getting started. So you telling me that you've written 5 books, one working, and one right after that since what? What's that? 19? When where do these books come in?
Well, my first novel, I think the copyright on that was let me see here in the cover here. Yeah, I copyrighted that in 2020. So I probably started writing that in 2019. Yeah, and then I just keep kicking them out. I can't help myself.
So what? 2019 to now, 4 years.
Yeah.
5 books, 2 in the works in 4 years.
Yeah.
Brother, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. What are you doing as far as like, and I'm asking this because I'm just trying to pick your brain at this point. How are you doing your marketing? How are you putting it out there, man? How are you getting the following and the backing for these things, man? How are you doing that?
So I decided that what worked best for me was the self-publishing route. The publishing market, it's tough. I mean, getting an agent to accept your manuscript and take it forward to the publishing companies is it's like hitting the lottery.
Yeah.
With my first novel, after I wrote it, I sent off query letters, and every agent has different requirements. You have to go on their website and read what their requirements are. And I sent off like 50 letters of query for my novel, and got maybe 20 rejection letters, and the rest just don't respond.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, this is really tough, because they're looking for the next bestseller.
Yeah.
So my book might be enjoyable, but it's not like that. Maybe it's not. I can't put this down. Even though one of my good buddies, of course, he was in law enforcement with me. He read Indian Country, and he thought it was he thought it was great. He thought it was one of the best novels he's ever read. But I mean, it's tough to get an agent and to break into it. Another one of my friends I went to high school with, Carol Platenza, she has several novels out. Her first one was published, and then and it was a bestseller. And then her subsequent novels, they didn't want to publish. They didn't want to publish traditionally. They couldn't. The agents didn't pick them up. So she started doing this self-publishing thing. So when you're self-publishing, you got to come up with your own cover art. You got to come up with, and then you've got to learn. I have a Facebook author page. I have an Instagram author page. I have a website. I haven't done my own podcast just because I haven't wanted to deal with that. But you've got to put the word out there yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful, because once you start self-publishing, everybody wants to be your friend, and they all want to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'll make you a best-selling author. Go with our company. We'll publish it for you. We'll do all the work, and we'll even advertise it for you. Now they just want you to pay $5,000 or $10,000 and send you a box of books. So you got to be very careful. So I learned all this stuff. I'm from being in law enforcement from a young age. I'm very suspicious, and there's a lot of people that want to part you from your money in this routine of self-publishing. So I learned how to format my books, because once you write it, then it has to be in the proper format for print.
Right.
Then I learned how to do the cover art.
Yeah.
And then I learned the whole platform of Kindle Direct Publishing, and started throwing them up on there. And I got it down to where if I don't pay for an editor, I can publish a book for $200. I mean, literally, I do all the work myself. The only thing I pay for is the cover art. And I found a great company. They're actually in Ukraine. They're called Miblart, Miblart. And I tell them what the book's about and my concept in my head, and then they come up with the artwork.
Oh, wow.
And then they do unlimited revisions until you're happy with it. So like they did this cover for Indian Country, Incident at Big Pine. And I said, I want a sheriff's deputy looking at a reservation and the reservation fence and the reservation sign, which has the name of it. Like he's like, you know, like looking into the unknown of what's ahead. Now entering Big Pine Indian Reservation, which isn't a real place. It's all fictional, kind of based on Pine Ridge. So, and they do the wraparound art too. So it wraps around to the spine, wraps all the way around to the back. Yeah. So they did that cover for me. That was less than $200.
Wow.
So really good. A lot of places in the US, they're going to charge minimum $400.
Yeah.
You know, and if you get with a designer who will do something exactly how you want it, it could go into the thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So I streamline my costs. I do a lot of the work myself. But now this book I had professionally edited by Alex Easley. And so this book cost me like $600. So I'm not making any money until I make $600. And, you know, that's my break even point. So it's tough. You got to advertise. You learn how to advertise on Amazon, and you got to be careful because that could add up really quick.
Yeah.
And advertising on Facebook, which works well.
Okay.
There's a learning process and a learning curve, and you can feel free to call me anytime with questions.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna reach out.
I'm home.
Michael, man, it's great. I love picking your brain. Now I'm finna get to the fun part. I talked to you earlier, and Ashley sent you the questions. Now I'm gonna get into the 3 questions that she didn't send you. I call the game pick one. So you only get one option, one choice, one sentence, one. You ready? All right, here we go. Out of all the books, and you only keep one, which one are you keeping?
The Star's My Destination by Alfred Bester.
Okay. You have one skill needed to be successful in writing. What's your one skill?
Expert in English.
I gotta learn how to edit, man. Last question. I give you the phrase, "This is my moment." What's the first thing comes to your mind?
Probably friends, my family and my friends. Yeah, that's what means the most to me. I mean, you can write books or you can create a new widget or whatever, but you don't have anything without family and friends, man.
Yeah, that's solid.
They keep me going.
And at the rate that you're cranking out these books, brother, they doing a great job. So don't move, Michael, man. I'm gonna close out the show and come right back to you, okay?
Okay.
Hey guys, Michael said it best. Take what you know, take what's inside of you, and make that help you be successful. Own your traits, own your history, and make that your future. And then at the end of the day, go get it!
Join the movement, we bringing people together, bringing positivity, making changes for the better. Cause it's all about growth, all about success. We wanna see you rise, wanna see you at your best.